Welcome back to Spring River Homestead. So it is Monday, a glorious Monday, and it's time for another Mailbag Monday. So this week we have 5 questions. Now these are going to be from our viewers, and this weekend we actually had Nikki's cousin down for a couple days to pick up some goats and just kind of hang out the farm, and you'll enjoy a little bit of vacation. So a couple of these questions actually come from her after we toured the the homestead and that, and look at our hip camp and everything. 2 of the questions are going to be from things that she asked about us. So the great one I'm going to start with is we actually had some rabbit burgers, and she had some pickles, and she said, these are store-bought, right? Nope, these are fresh canned and that. And she said, wait a second, how do you keep your pickles so crisp?
And there was another part to this, because she also asked me if I knew what alum was and did I really have to put it in because somebody had mentioned it to her. So, yeah, kind of. There's a couple of ways to do pickles to keep them crispy. You can use Pickle Crisp from Ball, which is what I like to use. Or occasionally I'll use one of their pre-made mixes that already have it in there. Mrs. Wages also makes just alum. You can put alum in there. Or you can use grape leaves. Now, I don't have grapes that actually will grow here, so that's not an option for me. But yeah, you can do one of those things. And I just told her to buy a package that had the pickle crisp in it. So, because nobody wants soft pickles, at least not pickle slices. Or spears. I guess she did some spears and didn't put anything in it either. So
yeah, so that really makes a difference. We learned, I guess, the hard way. We did pickles the first time, and you take them out and they're just soggy. Nobody likes floppy pickles, so the next time we did it, or you did it with some alum and the Ball mixture in that, and boy, what a difference it makes. So we had a couple questions, follow-up questions from our video last Monday. First one is concerned with the cookbook. Someone had asked what distribution methods, I guess, is going to be available for the cookbook.
The long and short answer to that is I really don't know yet. Probably a PDF version and a spiral bound is what I'm thinking, because I'm probably going to self-publish through Amazon is what I think is going to end up happening. But until it's completely done, I don't know, because I'm going to have to price it out and see what the best options are. Because I want to make a cookbook that's affordable. I don't want something terribly expensive. So that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it, is to do the self-publish through Amazon. But right now, those are the 2 versions, I think.
Okay. Now, I will say this. If viewers have something else in mind that they would like, leave them down in the comments. We're trying to, I guess, do whatever works for everybody, and then we'll figure out what is cost justified in that. But we'll make it work. We'll have to figure out what's going to work for everybody that wants to buy the cookbook. Now, secondly, beyond that, someone else had asked about the rabbit class, and specifically it wasn't, coming here for it, but it was like, boy, we'd really like the rabbit class, but we can't get there. We're either not local or, something else was preventing it. What else can we do there?
So like I mentioned last week, I don't want to film the class exactly while we're doing it, because then I have to get into waivers and everything for anybody who might appear. But we've had a bunch of people ask now about, can we burn DVDs and do a DVD series? And I don't know. I mean, I'm glad everybody's excited about the class. So what I'm going to tell everybody is, maybe there will be an online version. Maybe there will be DVDs. But that's not a project we can even look at tackling until this winter, like at least November-ish. So I love the ideas. Keep them coming if you've got suggestions on how to do it. But right now, my big focus is getting ready for the in-person class, getting that done, and then kind of seeing from there what we can do. So I love the enthusiasm. Keep it up. And if you're on the fence thinking about whether or not you want to come to this, spots are starting to fill up, because we are kind of limited on how many we can do due to all the social distancing and all that kind of stuff. So if you're on the fence about it, you need to get your spot reserved like now, because I don't know even by the end of this month if anything will still be available.
Yeah, we had from this weekend with Nikki's cousin here, they may take 4 spots of what we had available, because they
Yeah.
were like, whoa, you're doing a class? Well, they were kind of on the fence if they wanted to do rabbits at all, and they were thinking, yeah, we kind of wanted to, but we're not really sure what to do. All we had to do is mention we're going to do this class and all that, and they're like, yeah, we'll bring 4 people. We'll take 4 spots immediately. So.
And right now, we only have the 2 hip camp spots, and they are both full for that weekend, but we are getting ready to add a 3rd probably this week, and by class time, there will probably be a 4th tent only option.
Right.
So if you're wanting to come to that but you need a camping spot, just send me a message and let me know that, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that may be just mean that I need to let you know as soon as those campsites post so that you can go in and reserve it. And we don't want to do any camp reservation type stuff outside of hip camp, because hip camp does the $1 million policy. It insures you and it insures us, and that's just, then we're not fighting my homeowner's insurance or anything else if something were to happen. So we definitely don't want to do any reservations off of that. The class is a whole different deal, but if you're going to stay here, we need to run it through hip camp.
So I think the next one is going to be an LGD one, and this was, it's always a good question, and it's really about shock collars. Do shock collars actually work on LGDs? Because people seem to get them for suburbs, and they think, well, we've watched your videos, and my dog's going to be good because I'm going to get him a shock collar. What do you think?
Didn't work. I've heard of a few people that had success with them, and I mean very few. So the thing you have to understand about most of your LGD breeds is that they have actually been bred with thicker hair and oftentimes thicker skin at the neck. And that's to be able to fight things off like wolves and bears and things that, the Turkish breeds and, your French breeds and things actually fight in their native country. I know a lot of, out here, they don't fight as many things other than coyotes, and an LGD walks right through coyotes typically. So you're already dealing with really thick hair to get the prongs to the skin. But they have also been bred with a higher than normal pain tolerance. We've seen our girls rip nails and things and act like it doesn't even matter. We've had an ear tear here or there, and it doesn't bother these guys. Their pain tolerance is crazy high. And the reason, again, they need to be able to fight off a predator. So if they run at the first sign of pain, that's not really helpful. Mm-hmm. So I've seen LGDs fight through some amazing stuff. I've seen some videos online. We try and keep ours from ending up having to fight, predators if at all possible. They're a deterrent for us. But these guys can fight through a lot of stuff. So it doesn't really work. And I'll just go ahead and add here as a side note, I don't believe in shock collars. It's just not my cup of tea. I know some people use them, and it's just not something I necessarily agree with. I don't think it takes the place of really good training. I know that the underground perimeter fences that do the shock are very effective in some breeds, and it's more about training them to the tone. Very few dogs actually get shocked, but with LGDs, they just don't work. They're just not worth the time or the money. You might get them to work as a puppy, but by the time they're a year and a half, and really getting independent-minded, a little shock isn't going to bother them.
So we had mentioned about doing burgers and that rabbit burger, so her cousin could sample what rabbit tasted like, because she had no idea. So we also know, you guys have watched our stuff, you know that we have meat birds in the backyard, and so she did a set of meat birds also, and they ended up processing one of them just to try it in that, and so they put it immediately in a cooker 3 hours after butchering it and processing in that, and she said the meat was terrible. It was so hard and tough. They're like, why would you want to raise that many birds if the meat is this bad?
Yeah, her problem was she had put it in the cooker, and she just said, are they always this tough? And I thought, Cornish cross, to me anyway, having raised heritage birds, are actually pretty soft. I've always thought that the heritage breeds actually have better consistency to the meat, and that's just my personal opinion. So when I got asking her about it, that's when I found out that, yeah, they had frozen most of them, but one they had immediately cooked, and it was a little tough. So we typically, for us, if they're not going straight to the freezer, we put ours in a cooler or the refrigerator for at least 3 days. We do it with the rabbits too, to let them kind of age. The enzymes start to break down the meat and actually soften it. The meat's good. I mean, in some operations with beef, they can hang them like 14 days or 21 days. So it's not going to hurt anything as long as you're keeping the temperature of the meat cool. So, yeah, we had to explain that you don't exactly take them, from live to dead. There are things you can do if you absolutely have to cook it in the same day. I've always heard that brining helps tremendously if you want to do it in the same day. And she's by far not the first person that's ever come to us with that. We have a friend in Mississippi that did the same thing a couple years ago. So whenever possible, you've got to let that meat rest at least a few days. I do know some people that with rabbits will actually let them sit for up to 7 days in the fridge. We've never done it quite that long, usually just because space is a premium around here. But yeah, at least a couple of days to let the meat relax. And you'll notice, right? Because after you butcher them, everything gets real stiff. And then after a couple days, they're looser and easier to package too. So.
Yep. All right, so I originally said 5 questions, and we're going to throw in a bonus question that Nikki had this week that I thought was a really good one. It concerned rabbits. So the question was, if I have non-pedigreed rabbits, and this is following up on our video that Nikki did on why you should buy pedigreed meat rabbits. The question was, if I buy non-pedigreed, can I turn them into pedigreed rabbits, and what's the process of that?
So yes, you can. That's kind of the first thing to know is absolutely yes. Yes, you can start with completely unpedigreed rabbits. The thing I would tell you if you're going to do that is you need to have an ARBA standard of perfection if you're in the United States, or a BRC one if you're in Britain, or whatever your governing body for rabbit shows is. And the reason this is important is pedigreed rabbits really need to adhere to the standard of perfection for their breed. So you need to have a copy of that standard so that you understand what you're breeding for. So they need to be making weights, they need to be the correct colors, they need to be whatever certain features of your rabbit, whether it's fur length or ear length or carriage or whatever it is. So you need to know what you're breeding for. And then what you have to do, it just takes a few generations. You need to keep weights, have ear numbers for those rabbits, which if they're unpedigreed, you can assign your own ear numbers. Just know you can't register them until they have a full pedigree, 3 generations in. But you just keep weights, colors, ear numbers on each generation, and in about 3 generations, you'll have a full pedigree. They were also asking about if I had a pedigreed buck and unpedigreed does, can I get to pedigreed? Absolutely, same thing. You're just keeping the information on your doe, and as you come into the next generations, that pedigree will start to fill in. I started with unpedigreed Triantas. There was an issue with the buck's pedigree being lost. The does that I originally started with didn't have one at all, and that's what we've done. We've now mostly filled in his line. I still have him and we're still using him, so of course I'm still getting half pedigreed rabbits because he's an awesome little buck. But I've now got his offspring, and now she's got his daughter that I've kept now has her own offspring, and those pedigrees are now almost full. So it can be done. Just keep in mind that it takes time. It takes multiple generations, but you can totally make your own pedigrees.
Yeah, I think people get hung up on the pedigrees. I think the best reason to have pedigrees alone is just the historical documentation of them that they do meet the standard, right?
Yeah, and that's what we talked about in that video, is that it's about the consistency and knowing that there's no funky stuff in your line. I've seen people start doing pedigrees on just meat rabbits, which I don't really recommend. If you're not doing a purebred or something that's got just a skosh of something in it, it's not really worth doing. I got handed a pedigree at county fair one year that was, the mom was a Rex and the dad was out of a New Zealand and a something else, and it was like, I don't even know why we've done a pedigree here, because we're not adhering to any standard. It's just a meat mutt with some.
Right, and it was trying to emulate, I guess, documentation of his history between the lines and that. But yeah, if if you don't know if you're meeting the rules of the breed, it's really not that big of a benefit.
And if you're doing your own breed, like I keep pedigrees on my goats, and we actually don't have but just 3 registered goats on the farm. I keep pedigrees on my goats based on my breeding and my lineage, so that I'm making sure I'm not inbreeding a whole bunch.
Right.
But also because I'm actually developing my own goat breed. I've been working on for a few years. So it's important to me to look and be able to say, okay, well, 2 generations ago I had a Kinderbuck, so these are the features of a Kinderbuck, and 3 generations ago I had a boar mixed in there. So it kind of gives me an idea of what I'm doing, but I would never sell those goats with those pedigrees either, because that's not, it's of no benefit to anybody but me.
Right.
So.
Okay. I think that's a good answer. I mean, it's probably confusing at this point, but pedigrees are about documenting history.
Yeah.
And then it's an ability to predict what's going to come next. So.
Yeah, but if you're starting with unpedigreed stock, yeah, you could totally get back to pedigreed. It just takes some time.
Okay. So I think that was it. That was 5 questions plus the bonus, so we'll call it 6 for this week. But if you have any other questions that maybe either follow up from things we discussed today, or you have questions on, anything, canning, goats, rabbits.
Chickens. I answered a lot of chicken questions this week.
Yeah, the lifestyle, right? The whole kit and caboodle of homesteading, it's pretty big out there. So any kind of questions out there, we'll throw out our opinions sometimes on things that, we come across stuff that we don't know, that we haven't come across, but, that's kind of fun for us to go out and learn and see what we would and would not do for ourselves based on what we can find. So that's it from Sprague Homestead. Guys, thanks for watching, subscribing, liking. We're almost at 10,000. We are just almost right there. It's just every day we check. We're like, are we there? Are we here? And we're getting there. So it's pretty awesome.
We never worried about the numbers, but it's kind of exciting to think that we're just on the cusp of 10,000.
Yep, it's pretty exciting. So that's it. We'll see you next time.
Happy homesteading.